Okay, maybe a little too happy for this time of day for many people, huh? Sorry, that is a contemporary song by one of the bands that I sort of like. It's sort of a guilty pleasure, but you guys, if you guys can spot that, it might show up next week for a lesson. So, it is February 4th in, again, we are still here in the same place, beautiful Northern California. It's been another week of tons of stuff coming out for our target members and for all of our visitors at Totally Guitars. We had some kind of oddball things. I hope everybody got a chance to check out our it wasn't Making Music, it was an acoustic snapshot or gear review. It was a gear review on the double neck Gibson, the 12-string, 6-string combo that made popular by Jimmy Page and a few other folks back in the early 70s. It's like the ESD 1275 or something like that. Anyway, what a monster. It looks like fun to play, except you know what, folks? That thing weighs about 492 pounds, and it's hard to stand up and hold that thing for very long. Heavier than a normal Les Paul. So, anyway, we had a lot of pretty cool songs come out, and of course we started the week with fairly contemporary stuff. At least it was mostly 90s week around here. So we started off with Dave Matthews, Crash Into Me, and towards the end of the week here we had a Fly on the Wall come out where I was working on that tune with my student Kevin. So Kevin is a big Dave Matthews fan, so a lot of his lessons are revolve around Dave's tunes, and you can kind of take that as a hint that there may be more on the way. So, of course, by the end of the week there was another one. And this is because Kevin came to me and said, "Hey, can I learn this?" Dave uses some unusual chords, not always necessarily hard to play, but pretty cool sounding things. So we also had, of course, Where Are You Going? Then we mixed in, now Where Are You Going is a little more current. That was like 2002, I think, but we still threw it into 90s week. Then we had Dead Set in the middle of 90s week. We had, of course, Pearl Jam. And then a little Polly. What would the 90s be without Kurt Cobain and Nirvana? So let's see what else happened. Oh, we had a little bit of excerpts from, I spoke to a class. I guess I was called a guest lecturer at the University of Santa Clara earlier, well, last year it was now. I think it was in March or April of 2010. And finally dug up an old video of it and put it out for you guys. And it was kind of interesting. As you may have seen right there in the beginning, the first question was about flamenco guitar. I was kind of hoping the first question would have been about something I knew something about, but as it was, we started talking about flamenco stuff and then folk music and all kinds of things. And it was a bunch of great questions from a class who was not, this was not a class of guitar players, it was more of a music appreciation class. So they get different lecturers, different musicians to come in and talk to them. So that went up, spread out, I think over 3 days earlier this week. So that was kind of a cool thing. And also we had the end of my first interview with Mark Blanchard, where we took a look at one of his guitars at a Tamarack, which is one of his bigger body guitars. So that was kind of cool too. I hope everybody had a chance to check out what was going on with Blanchard's guitars. A couple of student reviews. A few people put up Bourree, and what else? We had a little Good People. So, and again, it's one of the coolest things that came out of even one of the things I mentioned, I think last week, was we have a bunch of new student reviews by a lot of people putting up their first one. So that's a lot of what we're looking at here for. So first of all, congratulations to everybody who has put up their first videos. And kind of along those lines, some of those are going to get reviewed next week too. So we're still kind of revamping all of that stuff. But I mean, that page is being improved, and the ways to access all of that stuff. So a couple interesting threads on the forum, of course, sort of relating to that, about your first upload and how that changed your perspective on guitar playing. So if you haven't had a chance to check that out, I really encourage you to look at the thread about, I think it was actually called "Are You Intimidated?" That had one of them to do with uploading stuff. And another great thread about if you had one big thing that you learned from lessons on guitar, what would it be? So that's also kind of neat for people to kind of summarize what they think is the biggest thing that helped them. So anyway, I love checking out the forum. You guys have had some great comments, questions, and discussions going on there. So that is really neat. We have one more thing happening this week, and that is we are resurrecting the drip feed lessons. Now, these are lessons, we haven't done one of these for quite a while, and I'm really happy to have been able to get to a song that has been pretty heavily requested by our more advanced players, because most of the things that are going to come out as drip feeds are going to be songs that might seem way over people's heads. And yes, I think it's a level 9, maybe a high 8. It's a 9, but a low 9. This is not a 9.8, folks. This is a 9.1 maybe, and it is my tune Quicksand. And it's one of those that if we break it up into manageable chunks, it doesn't have to be too hard. Playing it up to real speed can be. It's got some fancy runs. Anyway, that's how much of it is available this week. The introduction in Section A, and every one of these lessons as they come out every week or two, each week or two we'll bring out another part, will always include something that I do find really useful for, again, more intermediate and advanced players, not necessarily for beginners, is a version of me playing it with just close-ups of the hands of each hand, the split-screen slow-mo versions of those. And I think it's been a long time since I've done one of those. Back, I think Classical Gas may have been the last one. So anyway, that's the format that's going to be happening with Quicksand. So in the first installment here, what we have is the playthrough and a little discussion about it. I talk about the chord progression and some really more about technical tips. What's going on with the right hand and the left hand? There's a very odd, kind of a rough half hinge into a full bar move that happens, as is typical of some of my songs. Sometimes the very first thing is the most difficult, and that's one of the harder moves in the song. So don't get too discouraged if you're having a little trouble with that, with starting with the bar halfway off and then putting it down and getting a clean note without killing the bass note. That's the whole point of that. So, and then the third part goes into Section A and the intro, kind of a breakdown of all of that, along with the bonus part of the split-screen slow-mo version. So, hope you get a chance to check out Quicksand. And as far as next week goes, I'm not yet really sure what it's going to be. So it may be potpourri week. It might be just a grab bag of miscellaneous things. It's one of the things that maybe just don't fit quite everywhere. But that is it for Friday, February 4th. We will be working hard for the next week, and I will check back in with everybody with another report next Friday.